everyone. I love music, love life. This is the locker room. We're talking about everything related to sports. It's Amas and Zibby, and then we've got Tega, of course, on the other side. Good morning, Tega.
Good morning, Zibby. Good morning, Omas.
Good
So
morning,
let me
Tega.
do hot juice that I had to hot one. So
Hot, hot.
remember the golf drama with the LIV backed by Saudi and PGA
Hmm.
team, traditional one. So that's how Rory McIlroy, who was a staunch PGA guy that woke up one morning and found out that the PGA went behind his back to try and make a deal with LIV, had a podcast or came on a podcast that was released yesterday. And on the podcast, he was saying, and I quote, that perhaps he was a little too harsh on some of his colleagues that joined the LIV. After all, they are all independent contractors, that they should be able to play for who he wants. So, hint, hint,
Hmm.
you may just hear that Robert McIlroy has moved base. I mean, he did
We
try
see
to
you.
qual- he did try to qualify his statement by saying, "Oh, that if the LIV came in a completely different format, that he'd probably not mind being a part of it." But you know that from the minute he received that betrayal from the PGA Tour and then went on to resign from the council, that there was something already going on behind. So remember, he was originally offered, I think, 400 million
Mm,
euros to port or Japa,
mm.
whatever language you want to use, to LIV. And he rejected it at the time because he was like, golf is not about money. We are here to make sure that this sport is not tainted. But ever since that betrayal by the PGA, he's been shifting ground slowly. And now he looks like he's completely gone over to the other side because he's now saying, and maybe I was a little too harsh. So maybe, just maybe, some of the players are going to move
Money,
to
money,
LA.
money, money.
The
I'm
money looks
telling
good.
you, drop the money. Money is good. Money will stop nonsense. All right. On
Mm.
that note, let's just say find out how we can be a part of the locker room this morning, and then Omashe will give us the headlines. All right, Zibi.
All right. All you need to do is tweet at Smooth981. We're also streaming live on our YouTube channel, Smooth981, or send us a message via WhatsApp 0809 440
The headlines.
On the bill this morning comes Leicester's Iheanacho to join Nigeria for African Cup Nations Cup. And then dominant Nadal rose into Brisbane quarters on comeback. Then Oscar Pistorius, the disgraced one, to be released on parole in South Africa by today. Last gasp, Godwin penalty earns Barcelona win at Las Palmas. There is also Mbappe waves tens of millions in order to ease PSG exit. Then comes Inter and Juve battle for winter title as Serie A reaches midway. Then comes Calvert-Lewin sent off as Everton hold Palace in FA Cup. And then Ivan Toney, the bad boy, Brentford boss Thomas Frank says only an unbelievable offer will force the sale of the striker.
All right. So we start with the Iheanacho news because that is one good news.
Injured striker Kelechi Iheanacho will next week join the rest of the Nigerian squad for the AFCON. This according to the Nigeria Football Federation president.
All right. So remember, I said was it earlier this week that there were the Leicester duo of Wilfred Ndidi and Kelechi Iheanacho were suspiciously injured, and they had come out. Leicester City had come out with statements that they may not feature at the African Cup of Nations. Well, officially confirmed, Wilfred Ndidi is not going to feature at the AFCON. In fact, his replacement has already been called up and all of that drama. But we're waiting to hear on Kelechi Iheanacho, and now we're hearing that he's going to join the camp. How fit will he be for the first match? We do not know. How serious is this knock? We wait to hear from the NFF medical team. But the fact that he has not come out categorically like Wilfred Ndidi has been ruled out means that he may be able to feature in some of Nigeria's games, and that's good news because regardless of whatever form you think Kelechi Iheanacho is in, he's in part of the Super Eagles. He knows the system, and he can add a thing or two to the squad. So that's great news for Nigeria ultimately because we don't want too many last minute changes, especially when you are suspicious of your coach already. You don't know what he can deliver, and then you now have all these last minute changes. Then it becomes a question of, are we just going to crash out after the group stage? Those questions are there. But the good news is that the team is mostly or largely intact, and we wait to see how they can deliver the result or deliver the trophy, which is my expectation.
Let's touch base with Brisbane this morning, Australia, where Rafael Nadal said every day was an adventure as he's come back from injury, gathered pace with an aggressive 6-1, 6-2 drubbing of Australian Jason Kubler at the Brisbane International on Thursday.
All right. So Rafa Nadal is back, and he's back. Like I said, after the first match, everybody was just like, where's the match rustiness going? And then to make us even more shocked, he played an even more brilliant second match. He's playing today, so we'll see how long this comeback form carries on. But what it is that he looks the same. Still playing brilliantly, still with the same intensity, still chasing down every ball, still putting his water bottle in exactly the same spot, still with all the quirks of his knicker just before he serves. But the one thing that he has to watch out, because he's still doing that, is the time violations. Because he got one between the first and the second set when he went for his bathroom break. I know that Rafa Nadal generally takes his time. So that's what he needs to look out on, because this year they're going to be very strict on it. But yeah, he looks back with a bang. The question is, can he do the same when it comes to the Grand Slam, which is what everybody is hoping for. So this is a good build-up. But when the Australian Open starts, can he battle for 5 sets and then come back the next match and do exactly the same? Those are the questions that he would like to answer later on this month.
All right, on to South Africa. Ex-Paralympian and girlfriend killer Oscar Pistorius is to be freed on
Did
parole
you
from
just
a
say
South
girlfriend
African
killer?
jail. Yes. Is he not a girlfriend killer?
He was convicted.
Exactly.
Zibby, you need to leave this studio.
In the locker room right now.
Yeah, I would say this. So you never know how much time has passed until you look up and be like, oh yeah, Oscar Pistorius has been in jail. Now, for some people, especially immediate family and friends of his his now dead girlfriend, they wouldn't think anything is enough, because their daughter, their friend, their sister is gone. So they're not thinking anything is enough. But for a lot of people, they'll be like, oh yeah, he has spent a lot of time in jail. So he's being considered for parole. And I would say this, he has served his time, or he's serving his time. So I don't know that, he should come out to more abuse and all of that. But I'd be wary around him, I'd not want to be in spaces with him alone. Because you shot somebody 5 times. It wasn't one shot. It was 5 deliberate, intentional shots.
And this wasn't a
And
stranger. This was someone that loved and trusted him enough to be in the same house with him.
Exactly. And then, every time I remember that Nike like a bullet advert. And I'm just like, yeah, you're even more dangerous now. But let's see how it pans out for him. But yeah, I think he served this time. I don't think there's any comeback of athletics on his card. Even if he wanted to try, age is not even on his side. And I don't know any technological advantage his blades will give him that the Olympic Committee won't have looked out for. But that he served this time and he can come out and join society in a more responsible way is what I look forward to seeing. Yeah. I have to qualify in more responsible way.
Yes. Okay. Now that leaves us with enough pace to go to Spain this morning, where Ilkay Gundogan's stoppage time penalty earned Barcelona 2-1 comeback win at a 10-man Las Palmas in an ill-tempered La Liga match on Thursday. Where was the referee?
Okay, the referee was trying, but I think I would say that the referee added a little bit to it, and it wasn't it was a tricky stuff. First of all, let me just say the Barcelona win may be a little deceiving, because yes, they got all 3 points, but their performance on the pitch wasn't convincing enough. We're still expecting more for Lewandowski. I have no expectations of Rafinha, but I mean, the fact that Barcelona bought Rafinha, they would have some expectations of him. So there are a lot of players that need to do a lot better when it comes to their performance against.
All right, Tega.
Sorry, when it comes to their performance for Barcelona, but what that win has done is that it has put them in third position. Now they're in third position, but they are 7 points off the top, which is occupied by Girona and Real Madrid, who are both tied at 48 points. So still 7 points off the top. But what it was Xavi Hernandez has a lot of work to do, especially in his midfield, because as soon as the opponents get the ball, it's almost as if every time they get the ball, they are already facing the goalkeeper. And that means there is no defensive block starting from the midfield before we even get to the defense. And so that's what Xavi Hernandez has to deal with or has to address on his team. But for the match proper itself, the referee, I think, did not handle the match very well. There was an incident earlier in the first half after Barcelona had conceded a goal where Sergio's shirt was definitely tugged. And he was stopped from making a run that could help in the build up to a goal. And the referee absolutely ignored it. The assistant referee did not see it. And so Sergio goes to the referee and like, why didn't you see that? And then the referee gives him a yellow card for dissent. I'm like, how can you give a yellow card for dissent if you didn't give a yellow card for pulling the shirt? So the referee kind of set the tone with his poor officiating. And so he did it to both sides. It wasn't a bias against Barcelona. It certainly wasn't a bias against Las Palmas. But the way he was dishing out the cards already put or increased the tension that was in the match and put the match on the ninth edge. So the referee could have done better. And there was also the controversy about the penalty. When I saw it the first time, that was like it was a penalty. The penalty that won the match for Barcelona, there was a push at Ilkay Gundogan when he was in the air. Now, some people are just like, oh, that push was not enough for him to fly like that. But both feet were off the ground, so you don't know where somebody will land. And that's why I think it should have been a penalty, because Gundogan was in the air and he was pushed. At that point in time, he could play, he could fly, because he was not standing on anything. Now, if he was standing on his feet and then he was pushing it back and then he leapt in the air, I'd say, okay, that's an exaggeration. But he was in the air when he was pushed, so you can't say the reaction he had. I think it was a clear penalty. I think it was rightly given. But of course, Las Palmas players will argue with you every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Or Thursday, which was when the match was played.
All right, let's move on to the next story. And this one has to do with Mbappe.
Can we do that next story now? Because we look like we are coming to the break. Okay.
Okay. So Kylian Mbappe has turned his back on several tens of millions of euros in a bid to ease a possible move away from PSG.
Very interesting. It's very interesting because he came out to say that he has not yet decided his future. But yeah, rejecting money that were in the contract for you to extend your contract. So how do you reject money when you have not decided your future? You know, these players, they come up with all these things like we're not going to be there when they eventually move. You know, I love my club. I've always dreamt of playing for this club. My focus is on this club. I want to help us win. Next thing you see a January move where they are making money to their next dream club. So when it comes to Mbappe, though, I'm not going to think I'm not going to make any decisions until he actually moves, because Mbappe can make the most ridiculous of decisions. He can turn on you just like that. And because Mbappe has I don't see anybody in Mbappe's life that he answers to per se, even his father. You know, there are some players that you think, okay, if certain people spoke with them or they have certain loyalties, they are going to stay somewhere. Mbappe is not that kind of player. Mbappe is loyal to only Mbappe.
Hakimi is to his mom.
Allegedly, that is an untrue story.
No. Hakimi to his mom, in the sense that you've even seen him, hanging with his mom, even if that story about his property and his mom were rumors. But you've seen him, loving on his parents and talking
Yes,
about how his
dotted.
parents used to work for. Mbappe has no such loyalties. Like Mbappe can tell his father, please sit down in Cameroon, you're disturbing my life in France. Do you understand? It's just Mbappe is like that. He has nobody to answer to. I mean, recently he gave an interview where he came out to say that, I'm missing Messi because with Messi the ball used to come to me. And I was in genuine shock because he doesn't have that kind of compliment for people generally. And so,
Seems like he
so
needs to
when
fix his attitude.
he need that, and that's the biggest thing with him, his attitude, because you can tell that this guy is world best, but that attitude will cost him much.
All right. Well, let us know what your thoughts are. WhatsApp number is 0809 444 This is The Locker Room. Stay with us. The conversation continues. It's a new day. It's a new life for me. Oh, wow.
On Zoom, on YouTube, and then you just sing.
It's still the locker room on Smooth 98.1 FM. Tega still here in the locker room as we race down, see a couple of messages in here. We'll just get them across and then get to a bit of a story. Atayo's message comes in quickly with this respond, and that's as a result of Tega's qualification. Zibby's exclamation a while ago. It says, girlfriend killer. President Zibby didn't agree for Oscar like Sancho did like Sancho against Eric Ten Hag. PSG football director Mbappe is just style to coax PSG into offering a better offer. And the annoying thing is that he's using Madrid and the transfer window to do it. That's what he has to say. That's Tayo's message. Then I've got AY from Oniru says, why won't he miss Messi? Well, it goes on, going from having Messi as a teammate by his side on the pitch to Dembele will surely have multiple trauma effects on him. That's what AY. So, Tega, there is also a message here from our YouTube fans here, sitting here. LK Aderogba sitting princely on the throne here, YouTube, and he says, Tega, please help. Where will we watch AFCON since, those people won't be showing it? Where can we watch? Tega, please guide us. Tega.
Okay, even I do not know yet. I do know one or two people that have it on terrestrial TV. So those of you that don't have antenna in your house, I cannot help your condition.
Okay.
So
So it looks like a fine place to pick up this next story. The Serie A season reaches the midway point this weekend, and while no trophy is up for grabs yet, either Inter Milan or Juventus can claim the title of winter champions.
Oh yes, huge one. So they have all these winter championships they used to do. Earlier it used to stop in December, but this one for Italy is moving to January, and it's this weekend. But both teams are facing seemingly beatable teams. And especially for Juventus, because Juventus just thrashed Salernitana 6-1 in the Italian Cup, and they're going to play them in the Italian Serie A. So if you beat somebody 6-1, you can imagine how many goals you anticipate scoring in this area. So it looks like an easy one for both of them now. If Inter, however, drops the ball against Bologna, that means that Juventus can win against Salernitana and take top spot from them because they're just 2 points behind Inter Milan. So it's an interesting weekend in Italian Serie A where all the battles are going on. But Juventus they have a completely different kind of urgency in this Serie A. They just look like they're not giving up on anything, almost as if they're intent on getting the Scudetto this season, and they're fighting tooth and nail for every single point. So that just makes it tough for an Inter Milan that is struggling with injuries on every single area of the pitch.
All right, let's move on to our next story. Calvert-Lewin made only slight contact with Klein's leg while winning the ball, and Everton boss Sean Dyche was furious with the decision by referee Chris Kavanagh after a rather long VAR check.
In fact, he's not just furious with the referee, he's actually furious with VAR now. He's like, VAR is testing my patience. I almost have a feeling that we may be watching a football match one day and Sean Dyche will show up in the VAR room to beat somebody because he's so angry. That match yesterday was a stalemate to replay. It was crazy. First of all, when I saw it on first glance, it did look like Calvert-Lewin entered the tackle with his thoughts up. Now, once you enter that tackle with thoughts up, you have opened that tackle for debate. And which is what I always say, especially when it comes to the EPL, where you know that the refereeing or the officiating is a bit dodgy. Do not give them even a reason to look at you. Because when they now look at your situation, it's when they start bringing out dead bodies from nowhere. And so the minute he enters that tackle with his thoughts up, sorry, can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
The minute he enters that tackle with his thoughts up, he gives VAR a reason to look at it. And once they start looking at it, in slow-mo, they start looking at the still pictures, it will always look worse than the initial tackle. Now, if I take Onojiafe in Nigeria, thought that it was a dangerous tackle at first glance, from the live feed, what do you imagine that the slow motion will look like? It will look worse. And so, of course, they gave a red card. But Sean Dyche was really so angry that, it seems as if VAR is just coming to ruin his life. Because every time they review of VAR, it always seems like his team is getting the short end of the stick. But it is what it is. I would say because of the introduction of that technology, I think a lot of players need to be more careful. You give them a reason to look, they will find something.
And this brings us to our final story, but we'd just like you to know you still have enough time to get across your response to all of the sports stories in the locker room this morning on 0809-444-0981. You can also race down to YouTube and give us a like there and subscribe to the channel, but make sure you search for youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos. Takes us to Ivan Toney. And Brentford boss Thomas Frank says it will take an unbelievable offer to prize striker Ivan Toney away from the club this month.
Well, a lot of people have been talking about Ivan Toney. You don't even know how he's going to come back, because he was out for suspension for the bet offense that he committed. But before he went out, he had scored a few goals in the Premier League. And so people expected that, he's going to continue that form, but you don't know. So all this rush, like his hot cross buns, it doesn't make any sense, especially for us now that is, looking for a striker because Gabriel Jesus is supposed to be their best striker. He's not scoring goals. Let's not even talk about Edin Ketia. That's a completely different kettle of fish entirely. And so a lot of people were already putting out the rumors that Arsenal will be looking at Ivan Toney. But you don't know what form he's going to come back in. You don't know if he was a one-season wonder. You don't know anything. And so already for Frank to be making mouth, what if he comes back and he can't score a goal? So other mouth you'd have made at that point, you're not regretting that maybe you should have sold him when the rumors were high. So let's wait and see the form he is in when he comes back. But speaking about Arsenal Arsenal will be playing Liverpool this weekend in the FA Cup. Now that is the match for the weekend. Last time out, Liverpool, we know the result. Liverpool, Arsenal ended up in a draw. A lot of people, there are a lot of controversies in the match. Someone have gotten a penalty. Someone has been given a red card. There was all that. So this FA Cup, you cannot draw here. Somebody will knock somebody out, whether it's tomorrow or next. Somebody will knock somebody out. So Arsenal has to knock Liverpool out, or Liverpool has to knock Arsenal out eventually. And so that makes it even more interesting. Now, Arsenal are doing this no red campaign for non-violence. So they're going to be wearing white on the day. But they better come in with a red attitude because they will see red. They haven't played convincingly. They've lost in back-to-back derbies, and now they're facing Liverpool in the FA Cup. Remember, they were already kicked out of the Carabao Cup pretty early enough. And the FA Cup seems to be where they are strong at because they've won that, I think, a lot more times. And so it is the trophy that they'll be looking to win. So this weekend, it's Liverpool against Arsenal. Your thoughts on who will win? Who will knock each other out? Because it could be a draw and it end up in a replay. So the numbers to send your messages to are
0809 440 981. That is
and
the WhatsApp number.
All right. And the question we are simply asking, do you think Arsenal has what it takes to knock out Liverpool? Or do you think Liverpool has what it takes to knock out Arsenal? So you send your messages again to
0809 440 981.
But before we don't read that message, wait. I see you're already scrolling to read message. Wait, your hand
Fast
is too
finger.
fast. Fast fingers. Before you read any messages, we have FA Cup matches today. I just want to mention that we have FA Cup matches today. Tottenham plays today, Chelsea plays today, and Brentford take on Wolves today. I think that's the match I'll be watching because that's two Premier League teams squaring up against each other. So we have FA Cup matches today, and then we may come back for banter. But now, Zibby, you see that your finger that was scrolling. You may now read the messages.
Okay, we had some coming in earlier. Taya says on that Ivan Toney matter, better wait for the end of the season before he looks like Jackson of Chelsea. I hope
you
Liverpool...
know, I was going to say, you don't know how he'll come back. He's already hustling him.
I hope Liverpool don't stain Arsenal's white too much because of the all-white campaign. AY from Oniru says, why won't he miss Messi? And this is with regards to Mbappe. Going from having Messi as a teammate by his side on the pitch to Dembele will surely have multiple trauma effects.
And Emeka is here with a message. Emeka from Ikeja. Arsenal will knock out Liverpool. That's what he says categorically here. They've forgotten so soon.
I like the faith. No, again, Arsenal Liverpool can be a completely different. They've been known to have dramatic, fixtures, and they come out and give the drama. And yes, Liverpool have the upper hand on head-to-head against Arsenal. But it's the FA Cup, and usually that's the selling point of all these cup competitions. Anything can literally happen, which is why even if some of the teams look like they have favorable draws, sometimes those smaller teams just do magic, get to the next round and get all the money. So again, I don't doubt Emeka's Arsenal will knock out Liverpool. It could happen, but I have a fear for Arsenal. Arsenal just, I think maybe because their neighbors are a bottling company, they've imbibed the spirit, but they tend to drop the ball when people least expect them to. There's a reason why the elephant fell off the tree very dramatically. So we wait to see how this pans out for Arsenal this weekend.
On YouTube, you've got a couple of messages waiting already. Abiodun Obisheson says, hi, Tega. Liverpool all the way, but what do I know? Football is a funny game. However, when push comes to shove, we know what we know.
Yes, that is Arsenal can cut your ticket.
And then
ticket you have.
Elke Adorwa has a different opinion, and he says Chelsea plays tomorrow, not today. That's what he's saying.
Okay.
And then Big E from K2 Tega, as an Arsenal fan, sorry to say Arsenal will lose. Sad thing again is that they are wearing white, and this club will not kill me this year in Jesus' name. That's
Amen.
Big E.
Biggie, we are saying amen on your behalf.
Big E looks like he's in an abusive relationship with Arsenal and he can't get out of it. It will be better.
Yes,
That's how he's been all this
you
while.
should talk to Zibby. Zibby has been in an abusive
Oh
relationship
my
since the
days.
trophy.
Zibby,
Ask her
Tega,
for her
why?
office number. On
And
that note, I want to say thank you so much for sending in your messages to the locker room on WhatsApp, on YouTube. Thank you for tuning into the station. And thank you for engaging us. So we meet again on Monday. Hopefully, your team will not be fodder for banter. I always pray for you. On that note, aspire to Maguire.